Okay, so we're going to talk about zone 2, which is low to moderate cardiovascular or aerobic exercise. So what are some guidelines of zone 2? Well, we talked about it in the introduction, but let's go over it again and maybe in a little more detail. Zone 2 is low to moderate intensity. We should be able to carry on a conversation, but possibly not sing a song. If you have zero difficulty breathing, you're probably not exercising quite hard enough. So think of, I can carry on a conversation, but if I were really trying to sing and hit those high notes, it might be difficult to do that. So you're just ever so slightly out of breath. Our heart rate should be between 60 and 70% of our max. And again, to figure out our heart rate max, we take 220 minus your age. So if we're going to use the 50-year-old example, 220 minus 50 gives us 170. And we exercise at 60% of that to 70% of that. Drifting a little bit above that is okay. Even a little bit below that is okay, because there are individual differences when it comes to heart rate. If you have a naturally higher resting heart rate, oftentimes you'll need to go a little bit higher. And if you have a naturally low resting heart rate, you might not even need to get quite that high. So realize there's individual differences when it comes to our cardiovascular exercise, but that heart rate is one way that you can objectively tell if you're at the right intensity. When we do zone 2 cardiovascular exercise, it's usually done for longer periods of time. In fact, the recommendation is 150 minutes or more per week. However, I realize that we don't live in a perfect world where we have all the time in the world to exercise. So while 150 minutes or more is a good place to shoot for, any amount of zone 2 is going to be beneficial. And it is true, the more the merrier, or the more the benefit you'll receive if you do it longer. So a typical cardiovascular program that focuses on zone 2 is 30 minutes, 5 times per week. Also realize you can get cardiovascular exercise through strength training, especially through circuit type strength training, which we'll discuss and give you an example later in this course. So you may be asking, is zone 2 effective for health and my cardiovascular fitness? And the short answer is yes. It increases our mitochondrial density. Mitochondria are responsible for oxygen use and power. So we want to have more mitochondria, and zone 2 can help with mitochondrial density. The mitochondria produce energy, and that's so important as we age. Zone 2 can also help with our cardiovascular health. It can help with weight loss. It can help with overall health, longevity, and just feeling more youthful. Again, 150 minutes or more is ideal, but any time that you can commit to zone 2 cardiovascular exercise is going to be beneficial. So if you can only do 2 or 3 days a week, don't worry, you're still benefiting. It's not ideal or the perfect formula, but you will receive some benefit. Some examples of zone 2 cardio, or again, zone 2 is that low to moderate intensity, is walking, biking, the elliptical, swimming. Now, it depends on your fitness level, but one person's zone 2 may not be another person's zone 2. If you have good cardiovascular health, walking may not be enough for you to get into zone 2. You may actually need to do a slow jog. Somebody who hasn't been exercising very much, a slow walk may be enough to get them in zone 2. Let's take the cycling, for example. Somebody who's just starting out, a leisurely cycle around the neighborhood may be enough. But somebody with higher fitness, they need to be riding at, say, 10 miles an hour to get them in zone 2. So the intensity varies from one person to the next, but the guidelines like the heart rate, the RPE, and being able to carry on a conversation do not vary. And again, one last thing, you can get in zone 2 during your strength training. We're going to include a strength training circuit that can get you into zone 2. As a matter of fact, it can actually get you higher than zone 2, depending on how you push it, the weights you use, and also the time of rest in between sets. So strength training can be a great tool or a great way to kill two birds, because you're getting that strength, but you're also getting that cardiovascular. So let's go ahead and get started.